All right, so welcome to CobbleStone System Configuration Training Session number 2 for Enterprise Edition. We're going to take a look at a little bit more of the basic functionality and even deeper into managing some of the core areas today. So for today's session, I want to take a look at another kind of record. These tend to go hand in hand with contracts, but they can work with other numbers or other records as well, and those are our request records. We're then going to transition into employee roles and groups and how they can be utilized, how we build them out, and then system permissions and security groups, which of course, please do not confuse with roles and groups. They operate very differently. Do have a little overlap in a couple places, but they're still very different types of things. And then we're going to round out today's session in talking about reporting, primarily with our ad hoc reports, and then dashboards. It's again primarily with legacy dashboards. And I look at these hand in hand because the number one thing to go on a dashboard is a report. So any questions before we jump into things? All right, so for creating a request record, it's built just like when we're adding a contract record from scratch. We're going to head to request and add request record. We're going to select our type. Now keep in mind that request type is built from our record types list, our piece of master reference data, just like our contract types, but these are those that are built specifically for our requests. So we're going to go ahead and select that type. Now you're going to find right out of the box that it looks like requests and contract types are on a one-to-one relationship. That is absolutely not necessarily the case, though. That is what it looks like out of the box, but they don't have to stay that way. And it's actually far more common that requests will vary, at least to some degree, from our contract types, especially since most requesters don't necessarily know the kinds of contracts that this is going to be turned into. Now, the request screen is incredibly similar to the contract add screen. When it comes down to many of the fields, we still have a title field. We do still have a requester, who would be the employee, if you will. The company name is the counterparty, all just like contracts. But we do have one major difference here as far as our fields go, and that is the review group. For requests, to turn them into another kind of record, this in fact allows a review group member to operate as a gatekeeper of sorts. So they would say, yes, we're ready to move forward with this request and turn it into another kind of record. Typically a contract, could be something else, or whatever other kind of record we might happen to need. And the overall idea here, why we have a gatekeeper, a review group, is that a request is typically going to be used by an end user who cannot create a contract on his or her own. We don't need them creating contracts, but they can ask for them. So this is how they start to interact with the life cycle of a contract, starting with a request. And just like a contract, we're going to fill out all the required and relevant fields. We're going to scroll on down and then click Save and Continue to commit the record to the system. Just like a contract, provided we have permissions, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later today, a record may be editable, and the same rules apply. We could hover over a field and click the pencil icon that appears, or we could go to a field group and edit any or all of the fields in that particular field group. One other major difference between contracts and requests is the status. Now, we looked at the status master reference data last time we met. Those status values primarily apply to contracts, though a couple other areas as well. The difference here is requests have just 4 status values available to them, and these cannot be changed. Every request defaults in as request pending, and a requester someone outside of the review group or a system admin, only has the option to move it to request canceled. So if they want to abandon the request. However, if a review group member or a system administrator comes on in, he or she could change it to request accepted or request rejected.